Okay, it's been a while since I've done an episode with Tea Time with Jen. I think the last episode I did was about 3 months ago. It's been a while. And I will say I have no regrets on that. That's kind of what happens. This is a vlog. This is supposed to be fun for me. This is supposed to be a hobby for me. And while I have a lot of hobbies, this is not my main hobby by any means. And so this has not been pursued in the last 3 months because I've been busy. And obviously, when you're busy, you cut time from the things that aren't your priorities. And this was one of those. In terms of updates, the last time I did an episode was March. And updates I will elaborate on include, so I moved to Canada. I was not expecting that. I kind of wanted to, and then it happened, and then I was like, okay, well, it happened. I learned to become the queen of multitasking. I'm in a bathtub, but that's just because I'm lazy and it's easier to multitask. / I hang out in my bathtub anyway, and I read and I do work in my bathtub, which I'm completely fine with. But honestly, that's the only way I can manage it in terms of when I'm doing like so many different things. Obviously, I have to cut time somewhere, and so instead of just doing a straight up bath, I do a bath and I read, or I do a bath and respond to messages, or do a bath and watch a movie. And so right now I'm doing a bath and a vlog. If it's awkward, I hope it's not. All you can see is my face anyway, and my hair in a nice, relatively well-formed bun. Yeah. So let's see. I like these videos to kind of be a way of me kind of connecting to the digital whatever. I was gonna say multiverse, but this isn't a multiverse by any means. But I think it's also largely the fact that there are YouTubers that I really love, whether it's like a vegan YouTuber or, okay, I do watch PewDiePie, I will admit. Most of the YouTubers that I watch tend to be related to veganism, rock climbing, or PewDiePie. Or yoga, or meditation, or spirituality. So those 6 things. And I guess it's the sort of thing where because I'm comfortable being really sort of open, that I don't mind using this as a platform for that anyway. Because obviously, when you go to your day-to-day life, not everyone's receptive towards that. Some people are, which is awesome, just like today. So the first hitchhiker I've ever seen in my life was in Washington. And since I've been in Canada, there's so many fucking hitchhikers I've found. And Colton, basically, so we saw a hitchhiker, and it was actually the dog that I first noticed. I always notice people's dogs first before the person, no offense. If you pet a dog, it's like not weird. If you pet a person, it's kind of weird. You meet a strange dog, you pet the dog, it's not weird. You meet a strange person, you pet them, that's super weird. The dynamic's different. So I meet this dog, and I'm like, oh my god, we should give them a ride. Where are they going? And it just so happened they were going to Horseshoe Bay, and I'm in Vancouver. Or no, I'm not in Vancouver, but I'm in Squamish, and we're going to Vancouver. And so that worked out, and we ended up giving them a ride, and it was really cool because he was from Quebec, and because he was from Quebec, he spoke French, and French was his first language. And I was really excited because, I wasn't entirely comfortable speaking French with him, and so we spoke mostly in English, just a few phrases, words here and there, and I was really proud of myself because he thought my accent was great. And it wasn't like a bullshit sort of thing, it was more of like I'm kind of surprised we're not actually speaking in French sort of thing, and I was really happy about that because I've been wanting to take more sort of private lessons to get acquainted with that. Like I studied a little bit when I was in school, and it hasn't gone beyond that. Let's see. So I try not to have dead air time, which is why I try to keep talking and talking and talking to not let dead air time go. I know a lot of people are really okay with editing. I don't want to edit. I think it's the fact that, because this is a hobby and this isn't my main hobby, I don't want to put so much time into it when it's not a main hobby. I already put so much time into all of my other hobbies, and I have 80 million hobbies. 80 million tends to be my default number when I'm using a hyperbole. But I don't want to put a ton into whatever editing this because, well, I just don't. because I barely have time to do these in the first place. So I have time, add time to editing, then it's not going to go anywhere. But I started working with a new company client recently, and I would say that it was great in the sense that, it's completely remote. There's a ton of flexibility. They're pretty chill, which is nice. It's a software project, and but it's for sort of, I don't want to say biologicals, but it's a software company for organic material, which sounds like biologicals, but I guess that's the sort of thing where I would consider compost organic matter, but I wouldn't consider it a biological. Like, I'd consider like a tree a biological, a tree that hasn't been cut down biological. Yeah, I haven't been rock climbing very much. I got injured, and I got injured in my neck, my back, my shoulders, my lower back. So I haven't rock climbed very much, even though I got a rock climbing membership in Vancouver already. Like, it's not, I mean, you can rock climb when you're injured still. I think it's more so, kind of at your discretion. And I think for myself, I wasn't super inclined on climbing injured. It's not like a super serious in terms of like I'm like completely debilitated, but it was more so the sort of thing where it's like, if I already think I'm injured, I don't really want to climb on it. I don't really want to make it worse. I kind of want to get better before moving forward. And it's been like that for like the last 3 weeks, which honestly, if I was a competitive rock climber, it would flip me the fuck out because I would be focusing so much on it. But I think it's the fact that I haven't been focusing so much on it, and I've been so busy with so many other things that it's kind of fallen to the back burner. And yeah. But yeah, it's been about 3 weeks now. It's actually getting better. Like, in terms of like on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of pain. 3 weeks ago it would have been a 10, now it's about a 4. And so it's getting better, and I think honestly just, not rock climbing has been helpful. And it's not that it was like sort of like a dramatic injury, that sort of thing. It was more sort of that there was like, imagine like a tension headache, how it's like kind of constant but low level pain in your head. But imagine like a low level but constant pain in your like neck and shoulders, upper back, lower back, and it's in that targeted region, and it's just like, well, there's nothing really you can do about it. So that was really frustrating, and so yeah. Let's see what else is new. I signed up for the GRE. I haven't signed up for the LSAT. What I thought was really interesting is that at Harvard, they take the GRE in place of the LSAT for law school. They take both. And I know what everyone's going to think. It's like, oh my god, do you want to apply to Harvard? Are you just applying to Harvard? Everyone wants to go there. It's prestige. No, not everyone wants to go there. Who the fuck cares about prestige? Blah, 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 blah. I think it's the sort of thing where I have 10 schools that I want to go to. 5 of them are in North America, the US, the States, as Canadians call it. I thought that was interesting when I got to Canada. People call us the States. I mean, I'm not in America right now. And that's the other thing, that you aren't obviously American to Canadians, or at least I wasn't obviously an American to the Canadians. The first time someone really, really, really noticed was when Colton was like, he made a comment about the money, and we were talking about the money because, so like in Canada, $1 bills don't exist anymore, or I haven't seen them at all. Whereas in America, $1 bills are very readily in effect. And so that was like one of the initial points that came up, which was, well, it was more so the fact that he needed to get like a coin purse, because basically, now there aren't $1 bills anymore, and now you just have a ton of coins. Every time you pay for something in cash, you just get a ton of coins. Because they have a $1 coin, a $2 coin, and these are like very readily in effect, like super readily in effect. Whereas like, I think in the States, it's really common to have like coin money outside of like 25 cents and 10 cents and 5 cents. And oh, that's another thing. I don't think pennies exist in Canada. I mean, I feel like I should just Google this before I just ramble. But whatever, I'm just not. But I'm just going to say that I have not seen a penny. I've not seen a penny, a Canadian 1 cent coin, and I've not seen a Canadian $1 bill, which is the huge sort of, it's not a huge difference, but it's like, oh, interesting. I would say culturally they're not that dramatically different. I would say I do recognize that, the whole stereotype about Canadians being friendly, I get it. I get it now. And I wouldn't say that they are like, absurdly more friendly than Americans. They're their neighborly North American counterpart. But there's something that I did notice distinctively living in a house versus an Airbnb in Canada. And that's basically the fact that, so, it's really common to be in a duplex where it's like, or like an apartment or like a house. But let's say that you don't have a house and you're sharing walls with someone. And what I've been used to, it's like, it could be a condo where you share walls, or apartment where you share walls, or a duplex where you share walls, or a townhouse where you share walls. And with a condo, it would typically be 2 floors. In my experience, it'd be 2 floors. So basically, like a vertical chunk, but no one's like above you or below you. It's like vertical chunk. Townhouse, similar, vertical chunk. Duplex, similar, vertical chunk. Apartment, you could have people below you, above you, below, above, left, right. Whereas what I've noticed in Canada, it's really common to what they have are suites, which is basically, you have an entire upper floor, you have an entire lower floor, which then sets it up that you have to have multiple entrances into this house, which often means that, one person, whoever lives in the upper suite, gets the front door entrance. Whoever lives in the lower suite, the basement suite, gets a behind the house entrance, the non-pretty door entrance. Which was super interesting because then it's like one person is perma upstairs, and then one person is perma downstairs, which I guess my point is this. What I've noticed is that because of so I'll put it this way. It's unclear to me if the feedback loop, which way the loop goes. If it's like if there's like a, okay, so then you're asking what loop. So then it's unclear to me if, if the contingency relationship is Canadians are friendly. Because Canadians are friendly, they don't mind having suites. Or if it's suites are common in Canada, therefore it forces a friendly community dynamic. Because, I could see this dynamic playing out in the States, as they call us, the States, or in America, which we call ourselves, and that dynamic not playing out well. And not playing out well because, well, I've had neighbors, and, when I lived in an apartment on my own, everyone has this very sort of ardent, individualistic stance, like, rah, rah. And so seeing this dynamic play out, it's totally different because basically it's like, but I think it's clear what I mean, hopefully, where it's like, are they nice? And is it because they're nice that means that they could have this, what I consider unusual housing dynamic, which probably isn't unusual in other parts of the world, but having lived in, California most of my life, yeah, it's unusual to me because I've never encountered this before. Or does the feedback loop start with, well, this is a common housing dynamic, and because this is a common housing dynamic, it forced this level of diplomacy, this level of community, this level of friendliness. Like, which way does the contingency relationship starts? Like, does it start with the Canadians being friendly, which is why they have suites? Or is it because they have suites that forces Canadians to be friendly? Because obviously, if you live in the upstairs suite, you could hear your neighbors downstairs. If you're in the downstairs suite, you could hear your neighbors upstairs. And it's like sharing the intimacy of living in a house with someone, but with them being strangers. Okay, this video actually caught into something interesting. Even if it's not interesting for anyone, but it's just interesting for me. Hearing myself reflect on my thoughts, okay, someone's gonna be like, oh, that's egotistical. You wanna hear yourself talk. Oh, go get a mirror. Okay. But from my perspective, it's more of like, well, these are the things I think about in my own head. Sometimes people are like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm like, okay, well maybe someone wants to talk to me about it because, well, I like talking about it. Okay. I'm going to include the contingency relationship with arrows. And basically the arrows work as like whatever is before the arrow, that's if, and then whatever is after the arrow is then. So it's like, if it's raining, then I put on a raincoat. Whereas it doesn't work the other way, where it's if I put on my raincoat, then it rains. So basically that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out which way the contingency factor works in this situation, with Canadians being nice, the stereotype of Canadians being nice and kind of actually being nice, and the sweet housing dynamic being a very, 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 very common dynamic. Then again, it may not be common in all of Canada, but I'm living in Squamish, which is like, comparatively from what I'm used to, it's rural. And then visiting Vancouver, and Vancouver is like this big city again. I'm sure they're all apartments there too. I have no idea, actually, to be honest. But I'm just talking about Squamish right now. And everywhere in Squamish, it's a street. So I'm curious about that. Which way does it go?